what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another dose of your weekly rundown. Definitely got to let those claps go, man. I feel like it's been a little bit. We like the claps, but y'all definitely deserve some claps too. Join in with me as always, my brother from another, my co-host, all the way from the O, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing good, brother. How you doing today?
Chilling, man. Chilling. Gotta give a shout out to my little bro Tony. Made that commitment heading over to Tempe, Arizona to go wrestle for the Sun Devils. So love good news like that. Expecting some other great news pretty soon. And yeah, man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about here. The NBA Finals capped off on Thursday. Shout out to you and our guy, Mike on the mic, Mike McCoy. I believe both you guys called this thing going in 6, no?
Nah, I think I said 7. I think I said Warriors in 7.
Okay, all right. I mean, it was close. The theme here for me, and I came out and said before the Eastern Conference Finals was even over that I thought the Boston Celtics absolutely could challenge for an NBA title, and I feel like they did a good job of that. To me, the best player on the Celtics this whole series was Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum, he did some good things, but throughout this entire playoff run for the Celtics, I thought Jason Tatum was, for whatever reason, really inconsistent, especially in those last 2 rounds between the conference finals against the Miami Heat and then the Boston against the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals. Turnovers was a big deal here for the Boston Celtics. That was 100% why they couldn't force a Game 7 straight up. Every game they lost, it was just turnovers. But we got to give kudos here, man. We got to give kudos to the Golden State Warriors for coming back. A lot of people, myself included, said that it was over. They were not going to win another championship in their tenure. And they proved all of us wrong, man. I gotta admit when I was wrong. The interesting thing to me about this Golden State Warriors championship is I think that this is the best out of all 4 championships. This might be the best team to me out of all 4 of these championships. Steph Curry finally wins the Finals MVP. It was the one thing that he hasn't had on his resume in a historic career to date. So he goes out, does an amazing job. Again, it took 2 years. It took 2 years, but the Andrew Wiggins prediction finally came true. Andrew Wiggins was the second best player on the championship team. Klay stepped up in times you needed him to. Draymond didn't have the best series, but those last 2 games definitely stepped up. All around, man, I thought that this Golden State Warriors team really showed up when they needed to. And when you think about it, one of the reasons why I'm saying I think this might be the best team, because I think this team might be more well-rounded than anything else. Like, they're almost set up for at least postseason success anyway, moving forward, even when the original Big Three is ready to move on from the NBA. When you got James Wiseman, who didn't even play this year, coming back. Jordan Poole did an amazing job. Gotta start playing some defense, but on offense, he did an amazing job this year. And then Kuminga was another one of their young guys that stepped up big time.
Yeah, definitely. I picked the Warriors in 7. The reason why I picked the Warriors to win the series is because the Celtics have just been too inconsistent at home. I think that'll come back to bite them, especially in a series like this. You seen them get Game 1, and they stole home court advantage, but just watching them, I know they're a team that would give you home court advantage back. So when you play the Warriors, if you get one in San Francisco, you need to take advantage of that because you're probably not winning again up there. So it kind of happened as I predicted. After Game 4, I said it. I was like, I don't think Boston's going to win another game. And they didn't. So, like you said, the turnovers were a big factor. Tatum didn't play up the par, but the Warriors were just kind of too much for them. And like I said, not being able to play well at home, I think came back and bit them in that series. As far as I think it would be hard to say that this is their best team because they had Kevin Durant at one point. So if you want to say it's, if you're not counting the Kevin Durant just overdoing it team, then yeah, I can see why you could say, I would say this team is probably better than the 2015 team that won the championship. I just think that as well as Wiggins played, as well as Poole played, uh, it doesn't compare to those two teams with KD.
Right. The thing to me about the KD Warriors was very top heavy. So top heavy that, but it almost like the Miami Heat teams with the big three. Super top heavy, and you kind of just filled in everywhere else with a bunch of like minimum type players. To me, why I say this team is the best team out of all the other teams is I feel like they're the most rounded. When you go to where their bench is at, like I said, these young guys. I didn't even mention for the future Andrew Wiggins. I just mentioned how he was the second best player on the team. But Andrew Wiggins is going to be a cornerstone for the Warriors moving forward. And I'm hearing a lot of stuff now about like the Warriors should thank the Minnesota Timberwolves for like this championship between passing on Steph and Clay in the draft and then trading Andrew Wiggins over there. I just want to say I don't know if Steph Curry, Klay Thompson are the same players in Minnesota than what they were developed into in Golden State. And I mean, Andrew Wiggins is who he is now because he was developed in Golden State. I don't think we know who he was in Minnesota. He's not. I don't think he would be the player he is right now had he stuck in Minnesota.
Right, definitely. I totally agree with that. I think as far as the top heavy part, yeah, I think that's true. But like as you've seen in kind of that whole run, when you have Steph and KD, it's kind of like the ultimate equalizer. So like, sure, this team is more deep, but I just think when it really comes down to it, they probably don't get past that KD and Steph.
Yeah. Again, I'm saying as an all-around team, I feel like this is the best one. We can debate, top heavy and with just KD and everything. I mean, yeah, put the KD teams at full strength against this. Probably got to go with KD, but from top to bottom, I feel like this is the best pure team that they've had of all four of their championships. Let's kind of dive into where do these teams go from here. For Golden State, there's a possibility that Andre Iguodala might retire. And shout out to him, man. The way that he went out was kind of poetic. Just like, he didn't play a ton of minutes, especially in the playoffs for this team, but his role was still felt. He had a role very similar to Udonis Haslem in Miami. And just the way you watch him pump up guys like Wiggins and other young guys on that team, it was awesome to see. So you got to kind of figure out where you go from there as far as, replacing a veteran like that. I believe Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins are both up for extensions, no?
I think they might be free agents.
Yeah, so you got to get that figured out. And I would think that the Golden State franchise is not trying to have those guys move on.
Yeah, like you said, I don't know if they're up for extensions or they're free agents, so I'm not 100% sure. If they're up for extensions, I think that's better for them. You can bring those guys back, and maybe if they walk next year or whatever, you figure that out later on. If they're both free agents right now, I think you're gonna have to choose between one and the other. To be honest, I don't think there's always that one team that just wants to come in and just get in people's way, make a deal. Like someone throw a max offer at Poole just to get away from Golden State. So I think that if they're both free agents right now, they have to decide between Poole or Wiggins.
I think Poole, because Poole might actually still be on a rookie deal. Poole might be the one that's up for an extension. Wiggins, rookie extension. Wiggins probably it's either an opt-in or get ready to be a free agent. So they got decisions to make on that one. But I don't see any reason why they wouldn't break this team up. This team has been more than willing to spend into the luxury tax to keep winning. I'm not on the same page as you. I know you said last time we were on the show that we might be setting up to just see the Golden State go off on another run. And, we had Draymond after the championship say welcome back to the Warriors Invitational. I'm not willing to give it up like that, man. I think that a lot of you're gonna have the Clippers back on full strength. We know how much you love that man Paul George, and he's getting his running mate back in Kawhi Leonard, and the moves that they made this at the trade deadline to set up for a hopeful championship run on their end next year, being back at full strength. We're gonna get into it a little later, but we know that the Lakers are possibly looking to make moves. I think we all got a ton of respect for Darvin Ham, and he's been named the new head coach over there. So that's another one. We'll also talk about the Boston Celtics and where they go from here. That's another team that got a lot to say about the moves they make. Same thing with the Miami Heat and them returning. So I'm not ready to just give it up to Golden State like, it's them and then everybody else. But it's looking my opinion on them has changed a bit over the last couple months compared to where it was at when the season first started.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can't count Phoenix out yet. I think Phoenix will hopefully be back with a vengeance. And then I think Memphis is coming. I think Memphis is not scared of Golden State. So Memphis is coming. And then the Nuggets will get Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back. So there's something too. So I see what you're saying in that case. So I don't think it's a given that the Warriors will be back next year. Obviously, anything can happen. You expect Clay will be more in a rhythm going into next year because I think he didn't
100%.
look his best this year. So, and then like I said, they got to figure out what they're gonna do with those pieces on the roster. So I don't think it's a given that they'll be back next year.
Right. On the Celtics side of things, I wanna pat myself on the back when we had the conversation about building a championship team through the draft. Mike, it was more so Mike than you that Mike was kind of bullish on like, no, that's not a thing anymore. Like Warriors are the only team that's done it. We just saw the Boston Celtics make it to the NBA Finals and lose in 6 games on the heels of a trio that was drafted: Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. So I'm just saying, like, it's still real. We talked the Memphis Grizzlies. I want to get into Memphis Grizzlies with you too, because there's been smoke going on all over the place. So we got to get into that one too. But they're another team built through the draft. Phoenix, to a lesser degree, built through the draft. For the Boston Celtics, I don't think that they have to do anything else than get themselves a point guard. And if I'm them, I bring Rajon Rondo back to Boston. Rajon Rondo is the perfect piece for them. You bring Rajon Rondo back to Boston, all those turnovers are instantly gone. And you probably make them a more dangerous team because of his playoff prowess, which is still real today.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Like you said, their problem would probably just be getting a true point guard in there. Marcus Smart was obviously running point for them, but he was more like a spot up shooter kind of guy, defender type of guy, kind of 3-and-D. So you want to get a true point guard in there to get Tatum some easier buckets, get Brown some easier buckets. You see how those guys kind of struggle coming down the stretch. So, yeah, definitely. And I think Rondo will be the perfect person. Obviously, the fans should embrace him coming back, and then we've seen what playoff Rondo can do. So, I definitely agree with that.
Before we get off of this kind of Golden State Finals thing, the Memphis Grizzlies and the Golden State Warriors seem to have been going all off at each other a lot since this championship. You know, Clay made his comments and Draymond made his comments to where Ja Morant felt compelled to want to answer back, saying that they got real estate living rent free in the Warriors' heads right now. To me, when I look at the Memphis Grizzlies, because we can all agree the Memphis Grizzlies are the next team up. They're that young team that's coming, right? I look at them and I look at it like the Memphis Grizzlies are like the Chicago Bulls of the 80s when they couldn't get past the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons are this championship team that they can't stand until they finally get over the hump. Or even if you want to look at the Detroit Pistons when they couldn't beat Boston. Boston was the team they kept trying to get over the hump with. To me, that's the dynamic that we're starting to develop here when it comes to the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies.
I can see what you're going, but they only played each other once. So like it feels like a couple
twice
times.
if you count the play-in.
Yeah, but then the Grizzlies won. So if you count the play-in, then it's fair. It's just like you know what I mean? So I don't think it's like a case where they can't get past the Warriors. I think it'd be more of in a sense, maybe what you were saying. It's just more like an older veteran championship team that you're coming up to try to pass. Kind of like the Thunder when they were younger, trying to get by the Spurs or maybe the Lakers. That type of situation. So I definitely see that, but I think it's a little too early to say that they like can't get past them right now. I think
I don't want to say. Well, I'm not saying that they can't get past them. I'm just saying that like it's that dynamic of what we're talking about with like how the Bulls kept trying to get past the Pistons, or the Pistons past the Celtics. Like that type of that's what I see when I look at these two teams now.
Yeah, definitely. I like I said, I probably compare it to like the Thunder trying to get by like the Lakers. They lost to the Lakers in the first round, in their first year in the playoffs, and then they had to get by them in 2012 to make it to the finals and things like that. So, just an older veteran championship team that doesn't seem like they're going away yet, and you got to battle with those guys. So, for Memphis, I don't think they're scared, and I like that. So, and I think at the end of the day, I think Golden State is. I wouldn't say they're worried, but they don't see them as just another team that is there. They see them as a team that definitely could be a roadblock for them going forward. I think if you even look at that series, the Grizzlies were never fully healthy in that series. Steven Adams missed the first 3 games because of COVID. He comes back. Dylan Brooke misses a game because of suspension, and then Ja gets injured. So they never had their full starting five in that series. So I think if they did, maybe it goes 7. Maybe the Grizzlies win, so it's a different story. So I think if the Warriors just thought that it was another team or something like that, they wouldn't be as worried or even remembering the small comments and things like that. So I think it's one of those things where it's like they remember because that's a team worth noticing.
Yeah, you know what really kind of put this in my head about comparing them to like those Bulls teams pre-championship was the Grizzlies exit interviews. I think it was Dylan Brooks that might have said it, where he was just like, we're young and they're getting older and they know, like, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but he was just like, they know that we're coming. Like, especially like, y'all beat us and we didn't even have our star on the floor and it took y'all 6 games to do it. And that's game 6 was a barn burner. Even without John Morant, that game 6 was a barn burner.
Game 4 too. They lost game 4 and 6 down the stretch. Honestly, game 5 they obviously blew them out, but game 4 and 6 were close games into down the stretch.
Yeah, 100%, man. So there's a lot of excitement just all in the future. Right there again. Congratulations to the Boston Celtics just for making this run. Congratulations for the Warriors, number 4. And, we're looking at a bunch of future Hall of Fame careers. You know what? I got one more thing on the Warriors. This Kenny Atkinson thing before we move on. So Kenny Atkinson was supposed to become the next head coach of the Charlotte Hornets. And like it was out there, he's getting ready to become the next head coach once this postseason run is over. Before the finals are even done, like before game 6, I think it was before game 6, comes out he's not accepting the job. Which is wild because me and you both, when it was out there that he was just interviewing for the job, were like, he's the perfect candidate for that Charlotte team. Now he's going to stay as the head assistant to Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors. I'm looking at it as what was told to Kenny Atkinson that made him back out. Is Steve Kerr planning on stepping away from coaching and you have a shot to be the next head coach of the Warriors? Or is something going on in Charlotte that you were just like, I'm cool on this? Because I remember what Kenny Atkinson was as a head coach. I thought he did a phenomenal job with what was dealt to him in Brooklyn. Him and Sean Marks seemed like a match made in heaven. Kyrie and KD, they got in there, felt how they felt, and they decided to move on from Kenny Atkinson. But it's just wild to me that he decided to back out, especially from a job like this when you got a young budding star in LaMelo Ball and some other nice core pieces around him.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, me and you both thought Charlotte would be a good spot for him. It's kind of a little reminiscent of that Brooklyn team that he had, and we thought he can do a lot with them and probably take them to the playoffs and things like that. It's interesting. I think with Mike Brown leaving, I think Kenny Atkinson may have got a promotion. I don't think he was the head assistant before
No.
Mike Woodson left. Was it? Is it? No. Is it? Who just left?
Mike
Not
Brown.
Mike Woodson. Mike Brown. Well, before Mike Brown left. So I think now that Mike Brown left, they probably promoted him to head assistant. So he got a promotion. So maybe he didn't want to take that coaching job no more. So he went from just an assistant to top assistant instead of staying as a regular assistant. So maybe that's part of it. It's promotion that he got within the Warriors, a chance to still win some championships and things like that. But I would have loved to see him go to Charlotte. I thought that would have been a perfect fit for him. Like you said, there's some good talent over there, and it kind of reminds me of that Brooklyn team.
Yeah, 100%. You know what it makes me question now that you're saying that? Because, one of the things that's been said about Michael Jordan is he's a little cheap. He's not going to dish out the big bucks to keep a star there or go after a star. It was one of the reasons why Kemba Walker left Charlotte to begin with. Maybe Golden State, being a top assistant at Golden State pays more than being a head coach of the Charlotte Hornets.
That is very possible. Like you said, Michael Jordan has shown and has, like I said, shown us that he probably doesn't want to spend the money too much. So maybe they did lowball him a little bit. But I think going to D'Antoni would be a terrible idea for them. I think Kenny.
Yeah, well, that's Mike, man. That's Mike. He can't catch a break. The both Mikes, Mike Jordan and Mike D'Antoni, they can't catch breaks. Michael Jordan, outside of LaMelo Ball, has not been good at decision making as an owner of a basketball team. Let's just say it. It's facts. And Mike D'Antoni is an interesting guy if he gets this job, because I don't know. I mean, LaMelo Ball just keeps progressing year to year. But I don't know. I've never seen Mike D'Antoni coach a team, have success at least with a team doesn't have an established veteran on their team.
Right. But he could probably try to use LaMelo Ball like he used Steve Nash and stuff. So maybe there's some similarities there. You can maybe try to use Bridges the same way you use Stoudemire and things like that. So I just think like you said, I don't think he'll be good for a young team. I think he's more for like a veteran team. But honestly, the way he runs his offense, maybe is better for a young team, because he's trying to run this no huddle, up and down the court offense, and maybe that
Running gun.
Yeah, maybe that is better just for a young team. And I think Mike's problem is that if you look at the money that these people are getting paid nowadays, he's probably looking at these players like Kemba, $36 million. At my height, I only got $30 million, and he's not even close to me. So I'm not paying nobody $36 million.
But that's my thing. I'm not gonna go deep into this, but how many times have I said this? Like, when it comes great athletes making the transition to coaching, or even like general manager ownership roles, more times than none, it never works, because they keep comparing everything to themselves, how things worked for them, and just comparing players to themselves. I'm not gonna, like what you just said, I'm not gonna pay him because he's not as good as me and I didn't make that money.
Yeah, but you know how competitive Mike is. So I think that kind of fits Mike's personality perfectly. I think other people maybe need to humble themselves a little bit. But for Mike, I definitely see him doing that.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that one. So the big free agency thing, this free agency went from being like, whatever, to this actually might be one of the better free agencies that we've got in a while. Probably this might be up there. The last good free agency we got was when Kawhi signed with the Clippers. This one, other than that, we haven't had any big free agencies since then. This one might rival that, because Bradley Beal, he's come out and he said that he's made his decision. He's not going to talk about it. Now the Wizards are asking him to come out with that decision before the draft so they can kind of save themselves. So, and we all knew Bradley Beal was going to be the big name in this one. But with just him, you're like, it's kind of a lackluster free agency. News just came out yesterday that Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets are at an impasse. which opens the door for him to kind of explore free agency now. It doesn't sound like he's going to opt into that final year of his contract. He wants the long-term deal. And look, on Brooklyn's side, I understand it. With everything that he's put you through, I don't know if I probably wouldn't commit to him either. Even though I personally believe that Kyrie is locked in and wants to win a championship. Plus, there's a lot of other bad things that could happen to Brooklyn if they don't retain Kyrie Irving, but we'll save that one for later. If Kyrie Irving decides to explore free agency, here's what I've heard. I've heard that Jimmy Butler has already reached out. I've heard that the Knicks are expected to make a run at him. I've heard that the Lakers are looking to make a run at him. Now, I've said what I've said about Bradley Beal. You know me, just even biasly speaking, I would love Bradley Beal on the Heat. I think that makes a ton of sense for both parties. But we'll see what he does. Bradley Beal, though, you got to get out of Washington, though. It's not even like Dame time type of stuff where it's like grind. Like, you're just in a bad situation. Kyrie, you know how many possibilities this opens up? Let's we'll do like door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. None of them have to do with him staying in Brooklyn. Sorry. Kyrie to the Lakers means that you probably do a sign and trade, which would pair Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook back up. Now, I know you'd probably be cool with seeing that. I think the world would think that was an interesting one. But if you bring Kyrie Irving to the Lakers, Russell Westbrook has to go. That's got to be in that sign and trade. So that's door number 1. Let's explore door number 1. What you feeling about door number 1?
If you're the Nets, you can't do it. If James Harden was still there, I would say go for it. But for the fact that you have Ben Simmons now, you can't really do that. It doesn't work out that way. You would play hardball and let Kyrie opt out, and the Lakers don't have the cap space to sign him right out, so they have to find something to do with Russell Westbrook. So you let them play hard. You play hardball, saying that the Lakers can't just come get you like that. So you got to hope that they can trade Russell Westbrook's contract. So, and then after that, maybe you try to grab a couple first round picks after it. But I think now, unless you're going to trade Ben and Russ together, it doesn't seem like a good idea.
No, you're right. I actually didn't factor Ben in that at all. If all right, so we'll move door number 1 a little bit further in. Maybe that's a 3-team deal. But at first glance, I'm sitting there like, man, the chance to pair Russ and KD back again in Brooklyn, that would be insane. Let's go ahead and look at door number 2. Kyrie stays in New York, but signs with the Knicks, which was the team that everybody thought he was originally going to sign to with Kevin Durant. It could be a win for the Knicks. You know, here's the one thing that the Knicks have needed for years now: a point guard. You get one of the most dynamic point guards in the history of basketball with Kyrie Irving. This could catapult you. I'm not going to call them a championship contender, but you are a contending team in the East that can make a run with R.J. Barrett, with Kyrie Irving, with Julius Randle moving forward.
Unfortunately, I don't think the Knicks have the cap space either, so it would again have to be another trade. And I feel like you're not giving me R.J. Barrett.
No, you're not.
I don't see how that trade ends up working out.
Well, couldn't they sign him outright, or would that have to be a sign and trade?
It'd have to be a sign and trade because I've seen reports today that the Knicks are trying to clear $25 million in cap space for Jalen Brunson. So they don't have money for Jalen Brunson.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
That's who that's who the Knicks are selling the fan base on. The star that we're hunting for is Jalen Brunson. And you know what? Knicks fans are going to eat it up too. They're going to get those Jalen Brunson jerseys. It's going to be great.
Yeah, so if they don't got money for Jalen Brunson, they don't got money for Kyrie. So it have to be a trade. I need RJ in that trade. And honestly, knowing the Knicks, I need a couple first round picks because they're gonna be good ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know. Look, that's the one. I feel like this for the first time they'll be smart with that. I don't think there's no way in hell that they move R.J. Barrett. I think that they're finally going to stand firm with a young guy that they can feel like they can kind of put the franchise around.
Who else are they giving up then?
You can give up. I mean, they're not going to be players of the caliber of R.J. Barrett, but I mean, if you want to give up Emmanuel quickly, I mean, there's been rumors out there that Mo Bamba wants to come back to New York. So if you bring Mo Bamba back to New York, I mean, you could have a situation where like one of Mo Bamba and Mitchell Robinson come off the bench, but you could also bring in Mo Bamba and then move Mitchell Robinson.
So the trade will be quickly and Mitchell Robinson.
There's other guys too in there, like Quentin Grimes. Who's the other guard that like they barely played, but I know Knicks fans were like clamoring nonstop for him to get minutes.
That's just trying to win now, so it'd have to be like Fournier quickly, so you get some young talent. Mitchell Robinson just because he's a talent, and a couple first round picks.
I don't think the Knicks would have a problem moving Fournier. Maybe they move Julius Randle too.
Does Julius Randle fit? You guys still gotta remember the fit for the Nets. They got Ben Simmons. I guess Ben Simmons at the point. But do you want Julius Randle on your wing?
No.
Maybe.
I haven't been the biggest fan of Julius Randle as of late, but it is what it is.
I'll take Fournier. That's a shooter that can space the court for us. He's a little taller. If they're gonna give up Mitch, I'll take Mitch just because he's a young talent. Quickly because he's a young talent, so we're getting a little younger. And it might have to be Randall to make the money work.
Let's check out the final one, door number 3, the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat had cap issues when they signed Jimmy Butler. They seem to find ways to make it work when they really want someone. And we know Jimmy Butler's reached out. The Miami Heat, from what I've heard, are not as long as it's not Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, they're open to moving anybody at this point, even Tyler Hero.
If I'm the Nets, that's the best option. Give me Tyler Hero. You might have to take Kyle Lowry back for money purposes and just to get another point guard in there, which might not be too bad.
No, I wouldn't.
PJ Tucker just opted out. They could have got PJ Tucker. That would have been great. I'll take Tyler. I'll take Duncan Robinson because that's another shooter.
I don't think that they have any problems moving on from Duncan Robinson either. But again, remember what I said about these guys they bring up from the G League. Everybody loves them when they're with the Heat. As soon as they get up out of there, they yesterday's news.
Yeah, I think just because he can shoot the way he can, there's sometimes you can just throw him in the game with KD and he should get some shots. So Tyler Hero,
the Heat have a lot of young pieces. But they have a lot of young pieces they could move. Like you think Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent. I'm just throwing names out here. They do have a lot of young people. Max Strus. We're talking 2 guys that ended up being a undrafted starting backcourt in the playoffs, in the conference finals at one point. Like they do have a lot of names that they can play with.
Give me the deal starts with Kyrie for Tyler Hero. That's where the deal starts. Then we got to take back Lowry for money purposes, and then from there, just give me anyone that can play defense or shoot the ball. That's the deal.
If Kyrie ends up in Miami, though, I think you got to start talking about Miami as a championship contender again. Like with him, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially Kyrie and Heat culture.
I wonder how well that will work out, but if they can get it right, then they'll definitely be dangerous.
100%.
I think it helps the
Bradley Beal.
That trade helps the Nets too, though.
It does. It's almost it's like a better. I feel like that would be a better deal for them than what they got back for Harden.
Yeah, you get a young talent in Tyler Hero. Then you got Ben Simmons, who's young. So I got the future. Going there a little bit. You still got KD. Bringing a veteran in Kyle Lowry. You can win. Keeps you in win now mode a little bit, and you still get a little younger.
Yeah, I mean, I've for a long time said as long as Sean Marks is running the Brooklyn Nets, like they're gonna be fine.
That's the only deal I would consider. With the Knicks and the Lakers, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
What if the Clippers came calling? I've heard little rumblings about the Clippers too.
Are they giving me PG?
No.
Who are they giving me? Reggie Jackson. Absolutely not.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one. It's definitely one to see. We'll keep a monitor on this one. My gut feeling says that he probably stays in Brooklyn. I don't know how. Don't ask me how, but whatever. I don't think Brooklyn's ready to risk a collapse of everything that they've put together thus far.
Brooklyn can't afford.
And it would be a
lose him.
huge collapse.
Brooklyn can't afford to lose him for nothing. You lose him for nothing, then it looks bad. And I think part of the reason why that they don't want to sign him to any like long-term deal or something is because the media has been screaming for months that they would not sign him for a long-term deal or nothing, which is funny because Stephen A was screaming that, oh, I wouldn't sign him for no long-term deal or nothing, yada, 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 yada. And then they was like, oh, he'll consider the Knicks. Now all of a sudden he wants him on the Knicks. Like, it doesn't make any sense. They can't lose it for nothing.
You gotta understand something, Kay. Stephen A. Smith is a Knicks fan. The Knicks fans will take anybody at this point, as long as it's gonna be able to get. They're star hunting. You know, I don't agree with it at all, but that's what they're doing. They're star hunting. Anybody with a name, the Knicks will gladly welcome it.
And that's why, if I was the Nets,
he did the same thing with Russell Westbrook. My bad to cut you off. He was killing Russell Westbrook the entire year, but then went on Countdown and said he would love Russell Westbrook on the Knicks.
I would sign him, and if it doesn't work out, you trade him later. You get something for him, but I don't think you let him walk for nothing. I don't
agree.
even know if you play hardball with him too much. Sign him to the deal. Try to add incentives like you need to play a certain amount of games per year. We might make an exception if it's like injuries because you can't control that sometimes. And you go from there, and then you trade him later if you need to. But I don't know. It's like I don't know this big thing on like Kyrie not playing. Obviously, he's been hurt, and sometimes he doesn't play, like he didn't play or whatever. But I think the Nets aren't in any position to kind of play too much hardball with him because if it's not Kyrie, then who? I don't think they have the cap space if he leaves to sign somebody else. KD's in win down mode, so.
Well, it's a ripple effect. The ripple, you have to. It's in the back of their mind, the fear of the ripple effect. If we let Kyrie leave, what does Kevin think? Is Kevin gonna want to stay here? Because the whole reason that we even got Kevin to sign here is because, truth be told, he followed Kyrie to Brooklyn.
Right. But I don't even think that's the fear because if you go to KD and say, hey, we got rid of Kyrie, but we brought you back Bradley Beal, I think KD would be like, let's do it. You're not going to tell me, oh, Kyrie left and, like, we're just left holding the bag. We don't really have a point guard for you. Then
Right.
It's an issue. So that's what I'm saying. You can't let him walk for nothing. Give him the deal. And if you need to trade him at the deadline, trade him at the deadline. Like, you worry about that later. But you know what I mean? People got bad deals that no one even said anything about. That if people that didn't say nothing about. There's bad deals get done every year that teams do just because they feel like they can't lose the player. It's like Nick Johnson. He was on.
Didn't Mason Plumlee get like a huge deal one year?
Yeah, there's like teams who had players who had like a decent couple of years, and they're like, "Oh, we can't lose for nothing," and give them a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
Taylor Horton Jr. barely played, and then Lakers were like, "We can't lose him for nothing," and gave him a big deal.
I still don't understand the infatuation with Taylor Horton Tucker. That's,
Like,
you know.
That happens all the time. You just trade the contract later if you need to.
Well, my conspiracy theory is maybe KD is like at one point it was like 95%. Like, nah, Kyrie got to stay here. maybe he's at like 80% now that he wants Kyrie there. Cause he might be saying all the right things on a mic and in front of cameras and stuff. But behind closed doors, is he really not bothered by everything that happened this year? Like, CJ McCollum was just on Get Up and First Take the last couple of days, and he's talked about how when you're the best player on a team, even the number 2 player on a team, you're in the office for those types of meetings.
Right.
So KD's got to be in the office when when Sean Marks and ownership are talking about these things. If he really was like bullish on Kyrie got to be here, Kyrie probably would have got a deal already.
Right. I think it's kind of tricky. I think I don't know if it's as much as maybe he's not as high on him being him no more, because like I was just saying, I think KD understands kind of maybe like in the same sense of the James Harden situation. As long as we can get something back for him, I think it's good, but we cannot not get nothing back for him. And then I think KD's also to the point probably where it's like, there's only so much I can do for you before like you got to go, oh, these guys have a point. You know what I mean? So he can say, yo, I want Kyrie here, this and that, this and that. And they can say, well, he doesn't play. And then KD has to go, well, you got a point. So, and then he has to go, you do what you have to do if you want, but I want him here. But I can't, it's easier for me to go to bat for you when it's like they don't have a comeback. It's just, oh, we don't like him or something. And when they have that, well, he doesn't play, he doesn't do this, it's like, I can't, it's still a business at the end of the day, so they got to do what they got to do. So I can't really go to bat for you too much.
Right. Definitely one to watch for. Like I said, my opinion, I think he's a Brooklyn Net by the time the season starts next year. You know, you said you agreed. We'll see what happens. Bradley Beal, like I said, I think Bradley Beal in Miami is like the perfect situation. I also know Bradley Beal has a strong relationship with Jason Tatum. They both grew up in St. Louis. They're very good friends with each other. Like Jason Tatum was around Bradley Beal when Jason Tatum was still in high school, like hanging out with him in St. Louis. So I would tell you, watch out for the Boston Celtics on that front too. But then we know that the Lakers are going to go after him. Me personally, just because I don't think that, Russell Westbrook just played for the Washington Wizards. He's not going back there. So I don't see a deal getting, I don't see them moving like Russ for Bradley Beal. Like if they end up having like a big 4, just by chance, however that happens to work, to be honest with you, I don't see it being a good fit. I think that those guys are all too talented of players to make that work. It would remind me more of when the Lakers had Shaq, Kobe, Gary Payton, and Karl Malone. Except I don't think they're going to the finals.
Right. I think Boston is where he'll end up if he does end up leaving. I think it makes the most sense to me. If you look at that team, I think Bradley Beal's thinking they're coming off a finals appearance. They lost. If you add me to it with Jason Tatum and everything they did, I think he's probably thinking like, we are a championship team. Like he's probably looking at the finals like, you guys are missing me. you guys are missing me. So I think, and obviously his connection with Jason Tatum, but I think the Celtics coach, I think after the run he had, a lot of players will probably want to play for him coming up. So I feel like Boston is probably the number one contender.
Don't tell me that, man. Why you gotta? Don't tell me that. I ain't trying to hear that. Especially it's one because one thing when you're I'm a Heat fan, but then another I just don't like Boston. I don't mess with Boston teams, nothing. Not what I'm trying to hear right now. But understandable. Like I said, I think Ime Udoka can coach his tail off. And honestly, I didn't even get to talk about that in the finals either. The finals recap. They didn't change anything other than coaches. They made minor trades here and there, but they didn't change anything other than coaches. Brad Stevens, he ran his course in Boston. At one point, there were stories out there that the guys just didn't respect him for whatever reason. And they decided to make a move where it's we're not going to fire you, we're going to make you the general manager now. And they bring in Ime Udoka. And he got something out of all these guys that Brad Stevens couldn't do. everybody's sitting here saying, and I never agreed with it because I saw these guys go to conference finals together. It didn't make any sense to me that people would come out and say that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum couldn't play together. All he did was come in, give them a fresh new face, fresh new voice, and get these guys to perform to the levels that they were capable of. So, get back to the original topic. Like, yeah, I could see a lot of people wanting to come into that situation after what the run that they just went on.
Yeah, and then he has his best friend there. They're coming off a finals appearance, and they need a player like you. I think it all makes sense.
I mean, it really need a point guard. But yeah, you had a dynamic scorer like Bradley Beal. That definitely changes a lot of things.
And he said winning is the biggest factor.
Yeah, so you shouldn't go back to Washington if winning's the biggest factor. Just come to the Miami Heat, bro. Just come to Miami Heat, like get you ready.
Tatum. Maybe.
Just saying. What else do we have on the docket here today? Draft talk. Let's end this thing. Let's end the thing with some draft talk, man. So, I know not obviously nobody's been telling you anything, but like I know you've been closer to the situation than a lot of us have with Orlando having the number 1 pick. I am thoroughly convinced that Jabari Smith is going to be the number 1 overall pick in 2 days. I think Jabari Smith knows that. I even think to a lesser degree Chet Holmgren knows that. And I'm bullish on this. The big 3 are going top 3. You will see. You can't convince me otherwise. I am like in on this. Jabari Smith will go number 1 to Orlando. We'll see if it's Oklahoma City. We will see if it's Oklahoma City because I have heard some things. I don't know if you have heard either. But regardless of what team it is, Chet Holmgren is going number 2, and Paolo Banchero is going 3rd overall to the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, I think Jabari Smith will most likely be the pick. They said that Chet has been trying to work his way to OKC, so he's been doing different things, trying to get his way to OKC. That is what I've been hearing. So I think he wants to go to OKC for whatever reason that is. So
I mean, you get a chance to form a big 3, big 3.
I think Banchero has kind of been linked to Houston this whole time, and I think that's where he wants to go. And he wasn't really. It was like a top 3, but he was kind of more 2-3. So I think if Chet goes 2, he'll definitely end up 3, and that's probably the better fit for him right now. So I agree with you. That's how it's gonna go. I think when you get to Sacramento at 4 is where it gets interesting. I seen the Knicks are trying to move up to get Jaden Hardy. I think that'd be great for them. So I think the Knicks should kind of look into that. People are big on Keegan Murray, and I heard the Kings were big on him. So I think the draft this year is probably really going to start at 4. And if I'm OKC, I would consider taking Banchero too. But that's.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. I'm a little closer to things with the Houston Rockets over here. So I know that they like Kevin Porter Jr. a lot, and obviously everybody is in on Jalen Green as him being the guy in Houston moving forward. Banchero, his fit with them is interesting because in order for that to be successful, you have to ask Kevin Porter Jr. to take a step back. You have to ask Kevin Porter Jr. to take a step back as far as how much shooting he's doing while still being able to perform at the same level as a scorer because of Banchero's game. Banchero kind of needs the ball in his hands more.
Right. I think him coming in though as the rookie, it's gonna be a kind of get in where you fit in type of thing. Now, if he starts excelling at that, then I think it'll change a little bit. But I think for him coming in as a rookie, he's kind of like number 3 on the totem pole type of thing. So I think for now, it won't be that much of an issue. I think if he starts looking like he's going to be a superstar, I think that's where the problem comes in. I think his first year, it's going to be kind of, put your head down. Don't try to get into too many people's way. Obviously, you're a top pick, but those guys were top picks too, so... You want to, I don't think it's not like a situation where it's like he's gonna come in and be the number one option right away. So I don't think they're giving him the like, okay, here's the keys to the offense. I think it's gonna be more of a, like I said, get in where you fit in at this moment type of thing. Come more to fit in than obviously if you stand out, we go from there. But I don't think he automatically jumps Kevin Porter in the offense right now.
Yeah, I mean it. I'm not. I don't think he's ever going to be. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think he's even. I don't think. You could always be wrong. Like, plenty of people are wrong with their draft analysis. I don't think Banchero's ever gonna be a guy that you could be like he's a number one option on a championship team. Like, I think Jalen Green is their number one option from here moving forward, unless anything crazy happens, like he gets hurt or something, God forbid. But you know, like I said, I know that the Rockets really like Kevin Porter Jr. a lot. Like, there's been a lot made out about where exactly do you put him, because people, they see a point guard when they see him, even though he's not really a natural point. He's more of a combo guard. Like, when he was in Cleveland, he was a forward. But just how you make those three work, because the talk is really like those guys being like your 1, 2, and 3 on the Houston Rockets. But the Houston Rockets have a crazy young team already. Like, they just got rid of Christian Woods because they wanted to maximize the potential they wanted to give Alperen Şengün more minutes, make him a starter, maximize him with his minutes. And then also taking Christian Wood out of the equation allows you to see more out of Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. when they're on the floor, because they get a chance to have the ball in their hands more and do what they do. Like, Kenyon Martin Jr. recently came out and asked for a trade because, like, the consensus is that Banchero is going to be drafted and they play the same position, pretty much. But, there's just a lot to make into he'll fit in over there, but how exactly he does it. Because it's not a foregone conclusion that he's a starter on that team day one. They have Jayshawn Tate over there. They have a lot of guys that are going to be fighting for spots. Guys that are talented, where he could be like, not that there's anything wrong with that. We've seen great players come off the bench, from day one. Tracy McGrady in Toronto, Tyler Hero in Miami, James Harden in Oklahoma City. So, we'll see what happens. I think more than likely when things get rolling for Houston, Banchero probably plays a lot more with Jalen Green than he does Kevin Porter Jr. Because if you look at it, he's actually more of a fit with Jalen Green anyway.
Yeah, maybe we have to see how it goes. Like I said, him coming in right now, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Like I said, unless he shows right off the bat that he's a guy you need to put the ball in his hand. I think we're gonna run some plays for him. He's not gonna be the main focal point, not unless those two guys are out, type of thing. So I think they'll be all right. And then from here, you just got to see how they work. He could be a good fit with Kevin Porter because Kevin Porter's a good passer. Obviously, he looks to score first and then pass, kind of like in a James Harden type of thing. But he's a creator, and they could fit well alongside each other too. So you just have to wait and see how it goes, I think. But I think, like I said, I don't think they're gonna worry about it too much right now. Like, not unless he shows that he's like gonna be that guy right off the bat. But right now, I think that's a problem that's a few years away.
Yeah, 100%. I guess. Well, let me touch on, because we said the draft really starts at 4 with the Kings. I'm with you. Well, not that you said that you're with like the Kings moving back, but I think the Kings should move back. The Kings are in a situation where they kind of have to start winning. They have a lot of guys on their team that they drafted just a couple years ago that have been there that they don't want to move on from. And if you're at 4, you're either your best options are Shaedon Sharpe or Jaden Ivey. You don't need to add another guard you had a guard problem before the trade deadline when you had De'Aaron Fox, Davion Mitchell, and then Buddy Hield, and why am I forgetting his name? And Tyrese Halliburton. And you move on from Hield and Halliburton to kind of, get away from that influx of guards that you have there. You don't want to add another one of those guys. Like, you're adding another guard. Like, you don't want to do that again. At that point, and we're not even talking. Again, we could be wrong, but once we get to 4, we're not talking about like once in a lifetime players here. We could be wrong, but it doesn't seem that way right now. So do you really want to stay at 4 and then take one of those 2 guys, or do you want to collect assets and look to hopefully make your team better to at least compete for a playoff spot this year?
Yeah, I think because at 4, I think Jalen Ivey has a chance to be a big time player, but he's a point guard. And I think you showed us what you want to do when you traded away Halliburton. You had a chance to go young and have Halliburton and Mitchell and kind of get rid of Fox and Buddy Hield. You kept Fox and you got Sabonis. That's like a win now or start to win now type of move. I want to say win now because that's usually win now is used for like championships, but that's like a trying to make the playoffs now type of move. And I think with this 4th pick, you'll just be adding another young player to that, which puts you backwards because then it made no sense to get rid of Halliburton because they're bringing another young guard or something along those lines. Keegan Murray, now he's a player that I brought up before, and he's upperclassman. He seems like he could be ready to come in right now and help them win. But I think if you can try to trade those for veteran pieces to go around Sabonis and Fox, that's what you do. Because if you were going to keep trying to go young and do that type of thing, I think you should have kept Halliburton and got rid of Fox.
Right. And I think at 5 too. For me, 5 is where I wanted to see Jaden Ivey go the most because I always felt like him and Cade Cunningham would be a great duo to have in the backcourt. But again, if you're Detroit, you have options there because if you can't get Jaden Ivey at 5, if he's off the board, you have Shaedon Sharpe, who's a dynamic scorer from Kentucky in his own right.
Yeah, I think you might want to go score. I guess Jalen Ivey has been playing the 2, but he's not that great of a shooter. I don't know how good him and Cade Cunningham would be. And then you drafted Killian Hayes the year before that. And now you're creating like...
Killian Hayes is over. I've never been a believer in Killian Hayes from the day he was drafted.
So now you're creating like a log jam at point guard. So I would probably take Jaden Sharpe there. He seems like you probably want to put a scorer next to Cade. Open up the court for him a little more and things like that. You probably don't want to bring in like another point guard type of player. So
I'm gonna give the Knicks props, man. I think if I'm the Knicks, I go full throttle on this. Send Julius Randle to Sacramento. Give them the 11th pick. You get number 4. You finally get the point guard you've been looking for, and then we move on from there. Yeah, everybody wins, or at least you hope everybody wins. That'd be great. The Knicks haven't had a pick that high since R.J. Barrett. Anyway, so that's what they should probably get going on. Plus, Julius Randle's kind of overstayed his welcome in New York too.
But if you're the Kings, do you want Randle and Sabonis next to each other in the front court?
Probably not. But how do you make the deal work? Who do you give up? Who are you giving up?
You take Kings. I'll take Fournier back. Give me, and I'm sure the Knicks want to get off of Fournier. You get a veteran shooter. You put him next to Aaron Fox. What's a bonus? Yeah.
A sleeper. I don't know if you have any sleep. If you had a list of any sleepers, my sleeper in this draft is going to be Jaden Hardy, who played for the G League Ignite this year. He was a top recruit coming out of high school last year. Decides to go the G League route, which I feel like not respected enough. I think these guys are, when you play in the G League, you're playing with a bunch of dudes that are hungry. And every time you play a game in the G League, it's a battle every night because everybody is trying to make it to the NBA. These kids that are going to the G League Ignite, I feel like aren't getting the looks that they deserve because we're not paying attention to the G League Ignite like we should, or the G League like we should with these guys. We're still on the college wave. Jayden Hardy, had he went to college, is probably talked about as one of the top lottery picks in this draft. But because he was in the G League, we're not talking about him as much. Jaden Hardy, for the season, averaged 17 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds overall. But his last 10 games with the G League Ignite, 21 points, 4 assists on 35% shooting. He's definitely someone I think can be scary. And when you look at, he's probably going to go in the lower part, if it's the lottery or not. With him ending on a team that has a lower pick, he's got a better shot at success and a better chance to mold. So I think that that's somebody that we should watch out for, not only in this draft, but in his rookie season.
Yeah, I think I've heard his name pop up a few times if he's been creating some buzz during the draft process. I don't really know if I have any sleepers at the moment. So I'm just interested, like you said, to see how the draft goes kind of after 4, see where Jaden Ivey ends up. I think he has the potential to be to bring that same type of entertainment maybe Ja brings to the game. You've seen him in college; he looks that explosive. So I think in the right situation, like you get him in the Garden, I think he can end up being like a superstar. So you get him in the right
Yeah.
situation, I think it can be great. So I'm interested to see how the draft goes after the top 3. I think anyone there has a chance to maybe be a sleeper depending on what he's going.
Yeah, 100%, man. We're in the end game. It gets real from here. We got the draft on Wednesday and then free agency. So when we come back, we're going to have a lot to talk about. Is there any, before we get out of here, is there anything that you're interested to see, whether it's draft, free agency, any of that?
Uh, Honestly, it's probably a lot. We talked about the Kyrie situation, the Bradley Beal situation. What does the Lakers end up doing? Do they keep Russ? Is Russ added there? Where does Russ end up at? I think Charlotte is still very interested in Russ. The draft is the Knicks. What are the Knicks going to end up doing? Like I said, where did Jaden Ivey end up falling at? I think there's a lot of storylines going on here. I think Memphis could use. I think Memphis can use a veteran scorer. I think someone like a Lou Williams, someone to come off the bench for them, get buckets. So let's see what they do. Obviously, they're young. They might want to add some more young pieces, but I think they can use a veteran scorer with them out there. There's a lot that's going on here. So we've seen, obviously, Dallas start making moves to try to get better. What is Phoenix going to do? You probably need another point guard to help Chris Paul. So there's a lot going on here.
Hey, I won't kill the Hornets for hiring Mike D'Antoni if they bring Russ in.
Russ did what?
It ain't gonna win you a champion. It's not gonna win you a championship, but you'll be a top seed in the East with Russell Westbrook and LaMelo Ball.
You're definitely getting to the playoffs.
It'll be it'll be fun to watch too.
It'll definitely be entertaining, and that's probably all Jordan wants to make his money.
Yeah, he would definitely, like I said, you're not gonna win the championship, but a lot of people would put their eyes on Charlotte more, like probably the most he's ever had since he's on that team.
You keep Miles Bridges. Yeah, that'd be an entertaining team to watch. You still got Scary Terry over there. Actually, they might have to trade him to get Russ. So.
Yeah, you gotta send him back home.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But yeah, for sure, man. But with that being said, that's the show for this. I'm surprised Beach ain't have nothing for us while he was in. I seen him in the chat, but like nothing else came after that. Maybe we'll get him in next week, But yeah, man, thank you guys for tuning in. And let's get ready for this draft, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of coverage for you guys when we come back next week. So for this week, it's Rich, it's Kay, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.